rivalry and you're coaching here. Is this week any different now that you're a coach than you were when you were a player, or maybe not in the game?
I think from a coaching perspective, in terms of preparation, it's nothing different. I mean, it's another game. Every game is the most important game on the schedule. I think personally for the guys from the state, being from Charleston, that you feel a little bit differently about this one. You understand the importance of this game for the fans, for bragging rights for the year. So you have that sense of urgency if you're a guy from in-state who's been a part of the rivalry. But for our guys, they've done a great job of treating every game like it's the biggest game on the schedule. And obviously we know this is a rivalry game, a lot of implications in terms of bragging rights for the year. But most importantly, they're in a way of us trying to accomplish something that we've been set out to do all year. So no change in the plan of preparation. Not trying to put any more emphasis just because this is South Carolina, but let's not deviate from the plan. Because this is the South Carolina game, let's not deviate from the plan that's worked for us. And just reminding those guys week in and week out that, hey, Monday's Monday, Tuesday's Tuesday. And I know I keep saying that week in and week out, but that's been our plan of approach. Let's attack every day and let's just have the best Monday starting today so that we can go out and have the same results we've been having the previous Saturdays.
Was there any point when you were a player where it hit you the importance of the rivalry? Like, you knew about it coming in, but when you were a player, you were like, wow.
Not as a player. I think it really, really hit me when I got done playing and I went to work at Michelin and got to talk to the fans on both sides. And as a player, you don't realize that people plan their weddings, family reunions, their entire budget for their household, around football season. And for them, they love every game, but they really, really, really mark this one on the calendar because it is an opportunity for bragging rights. And then you got some families that they're split, so they really want to have the upper hand on some of their loved ones. But as a player, you knew it was a big one. There was always a lot of energy, and you always had things to remind you. You had the ball run, you had the beating of the drum, but not until I got out in the real world and was around the folks that that really, really take pride in it that I realized.
When you were here as a player, as a teenager, was there an actual dislike, like as a young man, that you just almost have to garner for South Carolina when you play here?
I think you develop that, when you're done. But when I was coming through, I had two high school teammates that played at the University of South Carolina. Were really good players, Langston Moore and Cedric Williams. And so you had that friendship that lasted for 364 days. But for that one day, we were arch enemies on the field. But after you're done playing, then you realize the significance because of the impact it has on the economy in state, just the relationships that people have, the bragging rights. But as a player, you knew you wanted to win this one because it was a rivalry game, but it wasn't necessarily a dislike because you had friends, in-state friends that played on the other team.
Jermon Hopper, Hunter Renfro are co-starters on the depth chart this week. That's simply a matter of Jermon earning that spot back.
Oh, definitely. G-Hop is a guy that we knew going into the season was very talented. He had some big games for us last year. His issue was just staying committed to practicing and performing to the standard week in and week out. And Renfro came in and earned his opportunity to become the starter. And now you've seen that G-Hop's picked up his level of play. He's not focusing on snap counts, but he's making his snaps count, so to speak. When he gets in there, he's doing everything that he needs to do on and off the field so he can get that opportunity to compete. And he's making plays, and he had a big day for us.
There haven't been a lot of years where the records, this much discrepancy between the records. Is that going to affect these guys at all? And, or is this rivalry still going to be the same rivalry it always is?
I'm not looking at records. I'm not looking where they're ranked on defense. I'm just watching the film and understanding that these guys are going to come in ready to play. I think the rivalry, you look at the seniors, it's a tough situation that they're in. This is their last go-round. And what they know, they've only lost to us once. So those guys have an expectation of coming in and competing and beating Clemson. So we're reminding our guys that you can bet your bottom dollar that what you see on tape is not necessarily what you're going to get. You're going to get their best effort. So, I'm throwing the records out, not looking at where they're ranked, just trying to get the best plan together for our guys because I know it's going to be a battle. We're playing at their place. We haven't had a whole lot of success, the last couple of times going down there. So we know we're walking into an opportunity where those guys are going to be ready to play.
You said the other night, I think for several weeks, that you still think that a lot of your best ball offensively is ahead of you. Where is that right now? I don't know how you quantify it, numbers, grades, however, but how do you quantify that?
I think just the consistency of execution throughout the entire game. I think you've seen us have games where we've gotten off to a fast start and maybe didn't finish the way we wanted to. You saw us maybe stumble out the gate and then finish strong. And then some games we've lived by the big play, and then other games we've had to manufacture drives. But when we put it all together to where we can run the football when we want to and throw it when we want to and dictate to the defense, what we're going to do on offense as opposed to just necessarily making the adjustment and taking what's there, that's when I say we'll play our best football. And I think we're working towards that, but we got some opportunities just from this last game to clean up. We had some penalties that were uncharacteristic. We had some turnovers that were uncharacteristic. We had some execution errors, that might not have been there that we need to get cleaned up. And that's a good thing because it keeps our guys humble. It keeps them hungry, still chasing that opportunity to play that quote-unquote perfect game.
One of the numbers, one of the thresholds that you guys have been able to push through this year that Coach Morris always wanted at is that 200 plus per game. You're like about 218 or something like that, 215 in that area now. Does that say a lot about where this offense is in total, that you're able to run with that kind of efficiency and effectiveness?
I think it's just the maturity of the offensive line throughout the course of the season. Wayne's starting to come into his own, and they have confidence in running the football. And we understand that, in order to be effective, you got to be able to run the football and throw it. And if you can stay balanced, then it really puts the pressure on the defense. So I attribute that to, we've grown a little bit on the offensive line. Even though we've had a couple of injuries here down the stretch and guys missing a little bit of time, but there's a lot of maturity taking place on the offensive line. They take pride in running the football. They build confidence in the entire system. Deshaun, being able to be a factor in the running game has helped us to get those numbers where they are. But for us, we want to be balanced and we want to run the football, take the opportunities that are there, and we believe when we can run the football, then it helps us in the passing game. And it makes us hard to defend when we can run the football because you got to make a decision. Are you gonna defend the pass and play cover two, or are you gonna try and load the box? Well, if you load the box, then we're skilled enough on the perimeter to win some of the one-on-one matchups. I think Wayne's going to be ready to go. He looked pretty good in pregame, and I told him going into him he had missed a couple of days of practice, so he didn't have as many of the reps that you would like for a starter to have going into the game, and told him that, hey, this is going to be an opportunity that if we can get you a little bit of rest, we'd like to, but be ready to play. And it wasn't going to be until game day until we made that decision. And he came out, he looked good, but then there was one towards the end of the pregame where he made a cut, and I saw a little bit of a grimace that I said, hey, we might not quite be, might not be there. And then we had two seniors that wanted to give them an opportunity to go out on top. And then it was an opportunity that hopefully we can get some of the younger guys in. And we were able to run the ball effectively enough, and then we found some running game in the second half to where we were able to take advantage of an opportunity to rest Wayne.
To that point, the value of being able to get a guy taking as many hits as he has, kind of a bye week for him going forward on the big picture. Do you see that as being quite valuable in the fact that you probably watch the replay course with the guys that you have, just getting him fresh legs?
Oh, of course. I mean, you guys see Wayne on Saturday, but he practices, with that tenacity. He's full speed. He finishes his runs. I tell him to go 15, 20 yards, he might go 25. And I gotta manage his reps and say, Wayne, go stand on the sideline so these other guys can get some reps because that's just the kind of player that he is. But, he's done a lot for us. Like you said, I think he's got about 190-something carries already. He's taking every time. The thing about those guys, every time they touch the ball, they get hit. Very rarely do those guys have a free run to the end zone and flip the ball to the ref and then go to the sideline. They take a hit every time they touch the ball. So, it is big to get him some rest. But then again, you also gotta look at it as, he missed a week of game reps as well. So we got to make sure that we do a good job this week in practice and making sure that from a timing standpoint, he hasn't lost anything.
Coach, coming into the season, you guys were worried about who's going to pick up the Mike Williams position and who's going to share those snaps, those takes, those to other receivers. You've gotten a lot of production for the deep end and now Kenny on the deep game. Talk about the development of the deep ball now. It's now become something you can go through.
Right. And for Sharon, he's done a great job of building that chemistry with Deshaun. I think Deshaun is throwing the deep ball at a high level right now. He's showing a lot of accuracy on the deep ball. He's confident in throwing it because you got Dion and you got Sharon making plays. I think Dion's emergence as a playmaker has really pushed Sharon, being that it's his senior year. He wanted to have a big year. Was going to play the 5-man, so didn't really, anticipate being as much of a factor in the deep balls because most of those go to the 2-man and the 9-man. But he's done a great job of moving over there and embracing his opportunity. Probably got off to a little bit of a slow start building that timing, but he's really emerged the last couple of weeks. And we all knew that he can run. It's just getting him those reps in practice and in the game to where he's comfortable making those plays down the field. And, the offensive line is protecting. They take pride in giving Deshaun time. So it's really been fun to watch those guys be able to make those plays down the field this year.
When I watch South Carolina, Sky Moore, one of Gerald Dixon's, they kind of jump out at me. What jumps out at you when you see them on the film?
you watching them on film, you know, they got players. You know, they got players. They got a lot of depth, especially at end. I mean, they can roll a lot of guys, and they got different kind of body types. They can change up the speed off the edge. You got English. You got number 18. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but they all change of pace guys. Then they take number 8. They move him inside to change it up on your guards, bring in a little bit of speed. And then you got their interior D tackles are as big as anybody I've seen in the country, and Dukes. And then they got Kelsey playing a little bit. 20, Gurley, he jumps out at you. You know, he makes some plays on the perimeter. They move Diggs from outside linebacker back to the hash. You see him run the alley and try to make plays. So they got players all over the field. Their corners do a really good job. They're versatile. Number 3 into the boundary, he'll come up and tackle. He can play in press coverage. They're doing a really good job of disguising, you know, a lot of their coverages. You know, haven't seen a whole lot of just big plays, you know, people running behind them. You're going to have to put together some drives, be patient, run the football, and work your way down the field.
Coach, can you tell us a little bit about the pass play by King, the Renfro? Given that King was a quarterback in high school, it seemed inevitable that at some point that was going to be in the offing. But do you consider it all saving that, keep that under your hat for a little longer, and then pull it out later?
Well, you know, you got to look at. I got to give Coach Sweeney credit on that one. You know, that was his play, and he came to us I think on Tuesday and said that he saw an opportunity for that, and he was right because Wake Forest was very aggressive attacking your perimeter screen game, and you got to have the right situation. You got to have guys that are going to fly up, that are going to really be aggressive on trying to take away the screens, and we had some success up at Syracuse throwing the spot screen out there to Artavis, and then watching Wake going into the game. Their number 30, their outside linebacker, was very aggressive at the point of attack, so we thought we'd have an opportunity, and we knew Deion's background as a quarterback, being able to throw it. We made sure that we went in and showed him Sammy Watkins throws to make sure that we put it more on a line and didn't float it up there. So he had an opportunity to see, you know, some of the mistakes we made in the past with that play. But it was more a situation. You got to have the right kind of defensive look, kind of like the delayed screen to leg it down at Miami. You got to have the right defensive aggressiveness to be able to execute that play.
Going off of that, the play to G-Hop, the wheel route, he was wide open, nobody was open. Was it scheming, or did someone from the defense just find himself out of position now? Is that just you guys, scheming him?
Well, you know, I think it was, you know, when you're doing misdirections and you're rolling one way and somebody's going the other way, that you kind of get those guys, you know, you flat-footed and you're able to outflank them. Really was trying to get that ball to the tight end, and he was just a safety valve. But that's when you got Deshaun Watson back there. It's the same play that we threw to Ray down at Miami. So it was one that we brought back in and really wanted to get it to the tight end, but you got to take what's there. And they covered the tight end, or actually the tight end was a little bit later getting out of there, had a little bit of pressure. Deshaun saw his outlet. He found G-Hop, and then G-Hop, you know, we were hoping that he was going to score, but he got caught there at the end.
What makes the team is this array of South Carolina. You've got assistant coaches that are probably trying to figure out where they're going next as much as they're trying to figure out what they're doing now. What is that mentality like for this team to face a team that is certainly in a difficult spot like that when you're the team that's on top of it?
You know, you're as a coach, when you're in this profession, you make friends with guys on other staffs, and I have a good friend on the offensive side of the staff down there, so your heart goes out to them in that situation, because at the end of the day, this is their livelihood, you know, so you feel for them, but at the same time, you're looking at a situation where their seniors are playing at home for the last time in a rivalry game. That I don't think that that's going to be a factor. I think those coaches, you know, got enough pride in what they're doing, that they're gonna honor the kids by putting together the best plan. You know, they're gonna put aside whatever's going on outside and off the field to give these guys an opportunity, and they're gonna be ready to play. So, you know, we're not focusing on their situation. Obviously, you got a little bit of empathy because you are a coach. You understand it's a tough situation, but I believe that they're gonna put together a plan to have these guys ready to play, and we got to be prepared. And there may even be a couple of adjustments, you know, that we got to be prepared to make, something that we haven't seen by trying to give those guys an opportunity to come out and have a chance to win.
You went from player, fan, coach, you've seen all three perspectives. Can you talk about that and how you understand, I guess, all three things?
You know, as a player, obviously you being from the state, you know how important it is. You dislike them on that day. I mean, you're not going to say that you love those guys down there, but you got friends, so you respect them. You don't necessarily, you know, have that distaste, you know, maybe as a fan does throughout the entire year. But on game day, you know the importance. In game week, you understand, you know, what your job is as a player. Then as a fan, when I became a fan, it was like, wow, I didn't realize how serious, this really was, because as a player, you're just focused on playing. It's just another game with a little bit more atmosphere because it is South Carolina. So you have a genuine appreciation, one, for the school that you represent, and like, wow, the people of Clemson are very, very passionate about this, and especially this game. So you get that perspective. And then as a coach, you understand off the field the implications to your program each year when you play in this game, how important it is to win this game for your fans, to have your guys as players understanding the importance, not pushing them to the point to where, they're paralyzed because they're scared, to not have success in this game, but understanding that, hey, this game right here is important to a lot of people. You're playing and representing a lot of people more than just yourself, so you got to take a tremendous amount of pride in it. So, it's been neat to see all different aspects, and heck, my sister graduated from down there. My aunt graduated from down there, so I get the pressure in the family. And this is Thanksgiving time, so this is when family all comes together. So last year was a good year for us, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that we put together a sound plan to give our guys an opportunity and have them ready to play, to go out and execute the plan, just how they've been doing the previous 11 games.
How do you address the turnovers? And then specifically to Sean, does that worry you, or do you tell him to be aggressive?
You got to keep him being aggressive, but then also point out the areas where he can have, maybe. I don't think there was a bad decision that was made that resulted in the turnovers in the game. I think one, Deion probably could have helped him a little bit more by just trying to be competitive and get that ball knocked out. But 25 made a good play. He played the double move well. He forced us out of bounds, and Deion was trying to throw it up to give. Deshaun was trying to throw it up to give Deion an opportunity, and their guy made a play. And then the next one on the sprint out, he made the right read. He was going to Renfro. That's where he needed to go with the ball. Just his mechanics probably could have helped him out. He might could have got the ball a little bit higher. So you got to look at each turnover for where it is, but also understanding that we can't be trending in that direction. We can't continue to have those kind of mistakes, and just pointing out that when we've been locked in and focused and played our best balls when we don't turn the ball over. So really just trying to get them to understand that, especially in a game like this and any game going forward, now that we're down the stretch, that turnovers are something that we're going to have to be conscious of and still play aggressive, but at the same time, let's protect the football.
The second interception, Coach, you did see the linebacker drop into the passing lane. You did see that. It seemed like you missed it.
Right, but it was a corner ball over the top. And again, even with the linebacker, when he dropped, I think it was a low ball, and the guy had to jump to get it. He puts a little bit more air up over the top of him. I think he had leverage on the safety with Renfro, so it was definitely the right read. It was just a low throw.
Was Kelly's INT a learning experience for him, teaching moment?
Teaching moment for him, because obviously we do a lot of the run-pass options. And I think as he grows and develops, he's going to, and I said it after the game, that he's going to learn that typically when you have field pressure coming, that you're going to have some kind of weak side rotation. You're going to have a guy dropping out, trying to take away, and especially as much success as we've had on the quick outs. Teams are going to try and scheme that up. So it was a great learning opportunity. You hate that it came, at the cost of a turnover, but getting him game reps is going to be valuable down the stretch. So it's a great learning opportunity for him.
How well do you make Sean Elliott?
I just met him in passing through recruiting. Got a tremendous amount of respect for him. Everything I've heard about him is just nothing but positive. Went head to head on Zach Bailey last year, and he got the upper hand on me with Zach Bailey down there at Somerville. But heard nothing but positive things about him. Admire his passion. He's intense. From what I've heard, is all his players love him. I got nothing but respect for Coach Elliott. He's got a good last name too.
Maverick Morris was a co-starter with Crowder at right guard. How pleased have you been with Maverick's play?
He's coming to work every day. It's been a learning opportunity for him, kind of like Mitch. You get thrown in the fire and you got to grow up on the job. But been pleased with his play, and Coach Caldwell's done a good job of not asking him to do too much by spelling him a little bit with Ryan Norton now that Norton's back in the fold. And then you saw Hearn got in there a little bit to help spell Mac down their stretch. So it's been pleased with his performance. He hasn't had many issues. Obviously, some things that all of us can do better at each position technically to get better on a weekly basis. But been pretty pleased with his performance thus far.
I know what your focus is on this week, but does it help at all to know that you're playing North Carolina in the ACC championship game?
Oh man, I can't look ahead to that game. Obviously, with this game, we talked about some of the things that we need to correct. On offense, I'm just focusing on correcting the things from Wake Forest, putting that game to bed, getting on to South Carolina today, having our guys ready to play, and when we show up in Columbia on Saturday, and then North Carolina will take care of itself once we get there next week. We can't look ahead. That's not been part of our plan. We can't allow that to come into our focus right now. We need to stay dedicated to the plan, and it's the biggest game is this game, and then North Carolina will take care of itself when we get there next week.
They remember that
You know, I think so, but that's just who Deshaun is, and I believe that's what makes him great. You know, he sees every game as the biggest game on the schedule. He understands what it takes for him to get prepared to play each and every game, and he's going to go out and he's going to be focused and prepare. You know, it doesn't matter who he's playing because that's the kind of young man that he is, and that's what makes him special. And that's really, you know, on that subject, that's why I say he's the best in the country. He prepares like a coach. You know, he performs, you know, at a high level when he gets out there, and it just goes back to what his mindset is, that he's not focused on the distractions. He's not focused on what's going on around him. He's focused on, I guarantee you, you know, I got the question about his interception. He was in there Saturday night on the film on his iPad critiquing himself, and when he sees Coach Streeter today and they pull that play up, he's going to tell Coach Streeter, you know, what he did wrong on that play and how he can get better.
You think that was one thing that he's improved on most significantly from September now?
You know, I think protecting himself, you know, running the football. That's one thing that I told him. I said, you know, that's one thing I learned about Andre Ellington. You know, the reason Andre Ellington is still playing to this day at his size in the NFL is because he knows, you know, he knows when to get down. He knows how to twist his body to protect himself, and I'm seeing him, you know, learning how to protect himself running the football.
Coach Morris used to say that Taj was the best he saw throwing the deep ball.
Mm-hmm.
Is Deshaun at that same level or near it, or how can you compare them?
You know, I think it's hard to compare them right now because obviously we had to look at Taj for 3 years, and he did a great job of throwing the deep ball. I think that Deshaun is improving, has improved a lot this year, and I think only time will tell, you know, on that one. But they're both good. Take both of them, and I'm just glad we got Deshaun right now.
He's been great on those wheel routes, but the more impressive I thought was the one that peaked that looked like it was just like down two.
Oh yeah, and he's, like I said, you start the season, he hadn't played ball in a while, trying to get his timing going, and then now that he's been out there, he's been in the battle, he's battle tested, his receivers are making plays, his confidence is at an all-time high. You know, he's taking pride in not just throwing those balls in practice, but, hey, boys, let's go complete those balls in practice, because if we don't complete them in practice, then we're not going to complete them in the game. So he's challenged the receivers, you know, to step up their level of play because he's showing accuracy and confidence throwing that deep ball. And they all like them big plays so they can get in the end zone.
And yet on the other hand, he's had a lot of passes knocked down near the line of scrimmage. Sometimes it's how he's moving, and it's that quick sidearm or three-quarter stuff.
Right.
Is there an attempt to fix that in terms of maybe getting the arm slot up higher all the time? Or,
Right.
I mean, I know that's become more common for Brett Favre to throw
Yeah.
from any angle.
You know, with Deshaun and the tip balls, I don't know if it's as much just the arm angle and his mechanics as it is. We just hadn't done, you know, our best of getting those guys hands down. You know, we've implemented a lot more cut techniques on the offensive line this year in our quick game to try and get those hands down. And a lot of those times it's guys that we didn't get all the way on the ground, or the defensive line is reading out and they're jumping, you know, at the line of scrimmage to knock those balls down. That's what I've seen more of the tip balls, is more, you know, up front, you know, not getting those guys hands down. And again, it doesn't matter if you throw it sidearm or over the top. If those guys' hands are in the throwing lane and they're jumping, then they're going to bat some balls down.
You mentioned the importance of keeping the players focused and not allowing them to test the rock, because the importance of the nature of this rivalry. But from your perspective, did you feel like they were tight a couple years ago in Columbia? There were all the turnovers. I know from an outside perspective, it kind of had that feel that a lot of the guys, because of the streak there.
You know, I think momentum's key in any game, and that's why we emphasize on those first couple of drives. Let's execute at a high level and see, can we get ourselves out ahead so that we cause the other team to press. So I think there was a couple situations that you're talking about. Is I don't know if they were tight to start the game, as when the momentum changed, it's very, very difficult to get it back. So I think down there in Columbia, we were moving the ball, having success. I want to say, is that when we threw it? I think we threw an interception on a reverse pass or something right there, gave them the momentum back. And, you know, once that place gets rocking in that environment and they were really, really good, you know, on defense, it was tough for us to overcome that.
And then, of course, obviously, not only Deshaun, but on the entire team this year, you got the big one where I imagine with NASA, where you're all going in this time.
Well, you know, I think our team overall has a lot of confidence, but we understand that confidence is not, you know, what wins a game by itself. So we got to go out and prepare. And the reason that we are confident is because we go out and we prepare each week. So we got to have a great week of practice. You know, it's got to be the best Monday of the year, best Tuesday of the year, a little bit different schedule. Obviously, with the holidays, can't get distracted, you know, by the opportunity to have a little bit of time with your family on Thursday. Finish the process on Friday before we travel. Make sure we're locked in when we travel. Get to bed because it's a quick turnaround. Let's make sure that we understand that we're playing at 12 o'clock. We do everything that we need to do from a rest standpoint, from a nutrition standpoint, so that we can be confident when we hit the field.
Tony, how important was it to get Joe back in the flow of things? He had a very difficult week. Was it your plan y'all's plan to actually play him, or was it something that, okay, this is leave it up to Joe? What was the plan going into Saturday?
You know, the big thing was just to get him back around the guys. You know, obviously, you know, he has his family outside of the football team, but a lot of these guys are like family to him. So just get him back around his family, get his routine back going so he can take his mind off of the issues that he was dealing with. You know, the plan was to see where he was at mentally and then make a decision once we got to the game. And then obviously, you know, there were some opportunities to get him in there, get him back going, get him back on the field. But the big thing was just get him back around the team, let him know that we love him, that we're here for him, and let's move forward and put this behind us.
You had to like the way he responded. He made a tackle on one of the plays.
He made 2 tackles. Yeah, you don't like it when your offensive tackle's making 2 tackles on the field. That means you've turned the ball over. But it was good to see. It was good to see him, you know, be in position to make those plays. And you know, he joked around. It kind of took him back to his old days when he was a defensive lineman. So it was good for him to just get back and have a smile on his face and understand that, hey, we don't hold anything against you. We understand that you know what we do is coach football and play football, but that's not who we are. We all got challenges. We all got issues. Come back to the family. Let's put it behind us and let's move forward.
Given where the team is and the success you've had statistically in offense, do you think you and Jeff have answered all the questions about can co-offensive coordinators coexist?
You know, Jeff and I haven't had discussion about that. We don't talk about that. You know, I don't focus on that. I still see opportunity for us to improve, and I'm analyzing myself. And I know there was probably about 3 calls definitely that I'm like, man, I could have done a better job. Obviously, I know we'll always be asked that question, but you know, we're not worried about that. We're just worried about doing the best we can, you know, for these guys. And the biggest thing is the guys are confident in Jeff and myself, which helps our confidence to continue to grow, so that we can continue to work hard week in and week out to put together a sound plan, and then also make sure that we execute the plan at a high level by preparing practice, you know, the way that we prepare practice with purpose, so that we can go out and execute and not trying to get caught up in the pressure outside to change and do this and do that. Let's stick with the plan. Find a couple of wrinkles, you know, each week that we can change it up. But more importantly, have our guys confident to play because they've executed the plan in practice and they know exactly what they're doing.